Hey guys, welcome back to Brian's Train Room. You know, if you've got trains, you need to service them. And guess what? That was also true back in the 40s, 50s, and certainly into the 60s. What was great about Lionel is they actually provided the service stations with some incredible tools that helped you service those trains. This is an absolutely fantastic display of some of the service station items that are available, and that's coming your way. Okay, so as we dig into our service station tools, a little bit of how this episode is constructed. The first is I did my best to show you some of the best examples of these service station tools in the condition and also the packaging as well. I do want to give credit where credit is due. I could not have done this episode without this particular reference guide right here, which is Lionel's Paper and Collectibles, Greenberg's Guide to, that was put together by Bob Osterhoff. This is still considered the most comprehensive and accurate rendition of the service station tools. Again, could not have done that without this reference book. This is a must-have. So when it comes to how everything's sort of structured, if you kind of notice on this episode, there's sort of a bar below the left, from left to right. We've broken this up into chapters, so you can kind of scroll along and go to the service station tool that you want to know more about if you're not going to watch it straight all the way through. So that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully this will work well for you. I'm excited about this episode. It put a lot into it, and I could not have done this certainly without this reference book and certainly the help of some fellow collectors. So let's get things started. Pre-war and post-war Lionel trains are some of the highest quality and most dependable toy trains ever produced, but they do occasionally need service. So, when a child's toy train needed to be repaired, where did they go? Well, they went to a Lionel service station, typically the train store that sold Lionel trains regularly. But how did the store service the train, and what tools did they use? Well, tools designed and made directly from Lionel, of course. Repair shops needed pliers, screwdrivers, nut drivers, and test sets to properly repair Lionel products. These tools were not typically sold directly to the consumer, making them very scarce and highly collected today. So when a service station would get a train in, they would go to sort of the warranty payment schedule. If it was a piece that was under warranty, get a feel for kind of what they would get reimbursed to get that. And then they would turn to some of the other pages in the service manual, which would give them instructions on how to repair trains. Some of the pages of the service manual also talked about some of the tools that were available and how to order them. Here are two examples of service station pages from two different years. This first one is from 1951, which is right here, and this talks about getting the nut driver, the screwdriver, and on the back side, one of the wheel pullers, as well as the spring adjusting tool for making adjustments to, say, a KW or ZW, the ST302, which we'll talk about in a minute. A little bit later, it's basically the same, but they've updated the wheel puller. They've allowed you to kind of order the nut drivers or the screwdrivers sort of separately, which they weren't able to do before. And on the back, another spring adjusting tool, as well as some parts or pieces to repair E-units. A little further back in the service manual, it even show kind of what you would get for a 5D test set. And then on the back is a table of contents of how to use your test set, which is really cool. This is all for another day, but this is some of the paperwork that goes along with the service station tools. Let's take a look at these amazing and challenging to collect Lionel service station tools. One of the highlights of any collection, especially that shows service station items, is a test set. These are absolutely fantastic, and Lionel made these available to dealers. This is the 5C test set. This set has a kind of O-gauge track across the top. It's got where you can sort of test the couplers, the unloading mechanisms, all those deals. You've got different plug-ins, so you can check the whistle, something to unload it. You can put power to things. You can do individual little tests where you touch things. It also has a lamp tester. These are absolutely crazy fun to see. This particular one is about 2.5 or 24 to 26 inches wide, and this is the 5C test set. Let's take a closer look. So this is a 5D test set. So let's take a little closer look at this particular set and some of the details. And these are all very similar. The 5C, the 5D, the 5F are all very similar from a post-war era in terms of some of the things that they do, with some minor differences. The first one is this one's a little bit longer. This one sets out at about 34 inches wide, and I guess you would say it sits about 9 inches tall with the track. When you take a little peek at this, it has a number of different functions. You have an on-off switch over here to the left. You've got a couple handles for your power, your direction whistle. You've got a couple DC voltmeter, an AC voltmeter, a couple different switches to determine where you want to test, and a couple things through here, as well as a few leads that you can plug in to check a positive and a sort of negative grounding. These test sets were used for to test your uncouplers, a whistle, your E-unit or your motor function, an operating or unloading cars, lamps, and much more. This is a fantastic 5D test set. In the late 40s, Lionel came out with the Electronic set, which was a fantastic and very expensive set using some of the latest technology of the day. But when these made their way into service stations, they needed to be calibrated. And so what was used was a 5E. This is a 5E test set, which is basically just a milliamp reader that was used to calibrate these. It's got a little light down here. It has the little knobs up across the top that have some of the different little areas to connect to. This is an absolutely great piece and one of the tougher service station pieces to find. The last of the post-war test sets is the 5F. This is incredible. This is an original 5F test set in the box that it was shipped to the service station. Absolutely fantastic. And yes, if I were to peek inside and look in there, there is just a beautiful brand new 5F. Wow. Another amazing piece that the service stations were able to use were the nut driver set, and it included 5 particular nut drivers, and we're going to take one of these out of the holder. This right here says Lionel Service, and this is the service station ST 294. Okay, so each of these had their own designated number because each of these had a specific sort of barrel shape for the specific nut. This one right here is the 296, and so on. These are fantastic. We'll take a closer look too. So the next service station tool is the 301, which is the ST301 wheel puller. And if you kind of take a little peek here, the way that it's constructed, you're going to use it to basically remove one of the wheels from a locomotive like you see here, like this 2026. So you would take the wheel, basically pull this back, put the wheel in here, and as you screwed it in, it would push here the barrel of the little thing through the axle and removing the wheel. So this is what a service station would need if they needed to remove one of the wheels for service. This is the ST301. So one of the more challenging Lionel service station items to sort of discern or to find is the ST302. And the reason for that is typically these aren't marked, so you kind of have to have a little bit of history of where these came from. Now what these tools are for are these little curves, and they have these little slots, and they're meant to adjust some of the springs that Lionel used in some of their products. They have a couple different angles, and you see how these are slotted, and I'll show that a little closer up. There's a couple different versions with some different handles from different years, and also some different sort of orientations of the little slotted handle. These are really tricky, kind of fun to look for, and very useful tools in repairing trains and the springs that are used for them. One of the other more interesting items that Lionel came out with was the ST303, which is actually the sort of spreader for the E units. So this says S Service Station ST303. Sometimes you'll find them without any markings, kind of a stamped sort of steel. And they've got two sides of it that help to sort of spread the E unit so that you can access it without damaging the unit. Pretty neat stuff. So similar to the ST301, Lionel also made available a little bit later the ST311 wheel puller, meant to help take the wheels off of the locomotives. And so it's a little just slightly different constructed that allows for you to grab the wheels with these little flanges, and this little barrel pits through where the axle is to push and pull the wheel off without bending or torquing the axle in the process of doing so. Really cool stuff. One of the more sought after and fun items to collect in the service station world is the screwdriver set. Here is one of those sets. It's got a Phillips, a few flatheads, some longer ones, the short ones, one that has a little clip to put on. Really cool stuff with the blue little holder that it comes in, which is neat too. It's got a couple holes on the side of this one in case you want to have your spring adjustment tool held along with it as well. What a fantastic set. Hey guys, stay on Brian's training room. Well, I'm basically just showing you a regular plain old box. Well, maybe this isn't just a regular plain old box. If any of you guys collect service station stuff, this is one you're going to want to see. So one of the things about service station stuff is it passes around and some pieces are really tough to come by. One of the hardest pieces to come by is the screwdriver set. And everyone says, well, how do you get the screwdriver set? How did it get to the dealers? Well, this is exactly how. Notice how this is the little tray that the screwdrivers right here would sit in. See the little screwdriver? That is gorgeous. Okay. Now, one of the screwdrivers, by the way, is really long. So this box, when you open this up, has a little notch. See the little notch right here? That's super cool, so that you can get that long screwdriver to fit in the box. So basically, the screwdriver set is rare in itself. Finding one brand new in the box, wow. So there are a number of different versions of the track pliers. This is the ST342, which is meant for when you're messing around with or taking pins or helping fix 027 tracks. You see the little track pliers here, some nippers. They're designed to be able to allow the track to kind of fit in between the little things. You can find these sometimes in the boxes where it says Lionel track pliers and the number. These were made by the Crater and Company, Newark, New Jersey. Sometimes they'll come in the box, and which is really cool about that is when they come in the box new, it comes with a little bit of an instruction / order the other one's set, little paper, and a brand new set of the pliers. Really cool stuff. So here's another set of the track pliers we're looking at, and this is the ST343, which is made for the O gauge track. Again, this was also made by the Crater and Company Inc., Newark, New Jersey. A lot of times it's great to find these with their box, which has sort of a cover that comes off the top. You get a little instruction sheet / order more of these, and then inside is a beautiful plier for the O gauge track to be able to make adjustments. This is the ST343. And just like with the trains, it is all about the packaging and condition when it comes to collecting service station tools and equipment. So this is a set of the track pliers. This is an example of the ST343 again for O gauge track. We're going to kind of open this little guy up. Inside the box is a wrapped plier. I'm going to put this off to the side. And wrapped around here is this blue piece of paper, which is actually, if I can carefully kind of open it and show you guys, a sort of almost the advertisement for and also how to use your track pliers. That's off to the side, and wrapped inside this almost kind of waxy sort of paper is our set of track pliers right there. That is fantastic. By far, one of the heaviest service station tools that they made was the rivet press. It actually came in two colors. One, red, and it says across here on the little insignia is riveting set ST350, made for the Lionel Corporation, New York, New York. But this actual unit, both of these were made and manufactured by the Chicago Rivet and Machine Company in Bellwood, Illinois. Really cool piece. And so this is the ST350. It comes in red. It also came in blue with the same type of data riveted to the side of the rivet press. And these were used in conjunction with, we'll talk a little bit later, the riveting tools and cups available for when service stations were putting some of these pieces back together. Absolutely fantastic. So along with your 350 rivet press, you would certainly get everything that you would need to repair Lionel trains, either with some of the rivets that were needed or presses or anything you would need to be able to get these to fit. There's a number of different ones that are out there, and collecting all of them is certainly a challenge. This is a pretty strong selection of all of the ones that were available for the 350 press. It also came in this really cool red painted wood block that were perfect for these items, keeping them in order. Another set of tools that also went along with the 350 press was the ST375 cups, or set of cups, and wheel press cups. And the way that these are in, so you're servicing an engine like this and you needed to put the wheel back on. You pulled it off, now you got to put it back on. You can't just sort of hammer it in or just kind of push it because it'll damage the unit. So you have to have a special cup that's designed to have the wheel that you can also put in the right spot so you can align it. This goes where the little rivet would go for the armature here, and this would push into over the wheel and allow you to properly press it straight down so it didn't go on off center. And they had different sizes for the different wheels depending on what you needed. These are just absolutely fantastic and help to complete that 350 rivet press set and the tools. Another great tool, which looks great in a display case by the way, is the ST378E unit vise. This is an example of one of those vices that allows you to take the E unit, sort of put it in a location or where you need to put it so you could service it, because it was, again, too many fingers in the mix. This allows you to have a nice, good, steady base so you can sort of separate, move the barrel out, and also kind of work on your E unit. So this is a very, very cool service station item, the ST378. The last set of the track pliers that Lionel sent to service stations was the ST384, and there's sort of two versions that you can look for. The first is the earlier one, and doesn't have sort of the rubberized handle, and I believe made in USA or New Jersey. The second is one that was a little bit later, near the end of production, and this is the one that has sort of the rubberized handle, and it has Japan, but it still has the ST384 on it. And a lot of times you'll find it in this cool little sort of fibered box, indicative of that time frame. Really cool. Okay guys, this is really cool. It's part of HO, I get it, but it's post-war. This is an ST393 HO Magnetizer. I'll show you another picture in a minute. This one just happens to be still in its box. And if I can sort of carefully sort of pull this to the side, essentially unused. Wow, that is amazing. So it is an amazing array of service station items that are out there. Everything from the little punches for the little 350 rivet press all the way down to some of the pliers and absolutely incredible screwdriver sets. So these are a lot of fun to collect. You got to do your research, but let me tell you, it's very interesting stuff, and hopefully give you something to look at. All right, man. Thanks for joining me on Brian's Training Room. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this kind of thing, hey, like and subscribe. There's way more coming your way. If you like post-war Lionel trains and you like the rare and oddball stuff, well, you've come to the right place. Check out the catalog. There's everything from dealer displays, rare paper, mock-ups, prototypes, you name it, it's all in here. Please have a chance to check it out if you'd like to do so. You know, I don't do this type of stuff alone. I certainly have some friends and fellow collectors that have been gracious enough to open their collections to me and allow me to come in and film and really explore the fun and fascinating things that they've had a chance to acquire. And I like to share those things with you. So, as always, thanks for joining me on Brian's Training Room.
Look at her streak along the rails. It's a Lionel.